All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the self-sewn wardrobe. Oh, there we go. I didn't even mean to have that SewHere box here, but there are like 10 SewHere boxes left, so if you want one, hey, go get one. All right, so tonight I am talking about just doing a big update because so many things have happened. So first of all, we've almost got everything for the SewHere box here, and I said they would be shipping mid-October, so we're like right on time for getting all the stuff in. We sell 100 of these each time we do them, and so it is a little bit of a big logistical, what do I want to say, dance that we do. And so we give ourselves plenty of time, hopefully, to get the boxes ready. The one thing, there's always one thing that could possibly be a little late, we will see, is the really cool piece of swag that I'm excited about including. So I will keep you up to date if that's a few days late. We're just kind of cutting it close on the shipping time, so hopefully that comes in and everything is just fine. But anyway, so if you do want to order a SewHere box, you can do so. Like I said, there are like 10 left or something like that. Hey, Jasmine, how's it going? So SewHere boxes, yay! And apropos the SewHere box, this is something that you will be getting in your SewHere box. It is a sulky stabilizer sampler. Okay, so, did someone just order a SewHere box? Let me check it. They ordered seam allowance discs, so we'll talk about those in a minute. Anyway, so hey, Julian. So what I'm talking about right now is in the SewHere box, you're going to get a sulky stabilizer sampler. And what I'm going to start doing on Sundays, the next maybe like 3-ish Sundays, is talking to you guys about stabilizer. So if you are a person who has a machine that does, machine embroidery, then you probably know about stabilizer, somewhat already. There's always more to learn because they're always making more stabilizers because there's always more fabrics being made. Okay, and I love doing machine embroidery. I don't do like a ton of it right now, but I used to teach it when we were dealers. We had to know how to do it because we had to know how to, demo all the machines. But embroidery stabilizer can be such a great friend to the garment sewist, okay? And so that's why I was excited to source these from Sulky. This is so shiny. That to send you all these. And for garment sewing, a lot of your stabilizer needs are going to actually be like kind of small. Like this little sample pack is actually going to probably serve you well for a few things. And you can feel these stabilizers. How many stabilizers are in here? Includes many stabilizers. I can't count them all right now without boring you. But it includes quite a few stabilizers. So you're going to be able to try these out, to feel them and be like, oh yeah, this is like something I like to work with, or this one not so much, because some of them serve similar purposes. But we're going to talk all about stabilizers and how they can help you, even if you're not someone who does machine embroidery. You know that in your box, you're getting cotton organdy and you're getting power shaper net, okay? Those are two things that ZD and I use in place of interfacing products, okay? Interfacing is different from stabilizer. Stabilizer is generally meant to be more of a temporary thing that goes away after you're finished using it, whereas interfacing stays around forever. And if something's going to stay around forever in a garment that I love, I want it to be very permanent, very, what do I want to say, durable, a choice like that. That's why we give you the cotton organdy and the power shaper net, okay? But then we're going to show you the secrets of stabilizers. And so before you get your SewHere box, you'll know all about these, how to use them, what they could possibly be used for, and then I know that people will come up with even more uses for them as we sew along. Okay, so stabilizer Sundays are coming up. I think the first one I've got scheduled for this Sunday, October 4th at 10 a.m. Then I realized people go to church. Maybe if you want to come to the church of, stabilizer with me, you can always watch it later too, okay? So, but that is when it's a good day for me, a good time for me. I am working evenings and weekends while I have my lovely children during the day, every day during this pandemic, which I'm only half joking about, being sarcastic there. They're lovely. Okay, so I said I'd talk about Oh, and then the next thing we're going to talk about is seam allowance discs. And then make sure to say hello if you're watching. So seam allowance discs, okay, these guys here. A short history of seam allowance discs, okay? So we have actually manufactured seam allowance discs before, and if you're like, what the hell are those? Don't worry, I'm going to upload a demo video to you right now. But these are so much cuter than the ones we did before. The ones we did before were very plain. They were just like a plain, shiny, kind of like stainless steel. These are freaking adorable. I'm so excited. We're getting them manufactured right now, and they are available for pre-order right now, and we've had quite a few people order them. And so when I say available for pre-order, you're like, why is this lady doing all these pre-orders? Well, it's the way that we can do things the most affordable way actually for you. Like, we are getting these manufactured in the factory, okay? And like with the SewHere box, we're going to order, hundreds and thousands of things, to put in these boxes so that you can have them. So anyway, that's why we do so many pre-orders. But so many people have ordered those seam allowance discs. I've got our order in with the factory. And if you're wondering, what the heck is a seam allowance disc? How does it work? Well, boy, do I have a little video for you. Check this out. Okay, so here I am. I have a self-drafted pattern. And when you self-draft a pattern, you're often, you're putting down body measurement lines, and you're often drafting a garment that has, of course, ease added to it, but not seam allowance. And so if you want to add seam allowance to a garment pattern, you can do that with a ruler, and there are grading rulers, but this is where these seam allowance discs can come in. So you see, this is my 5/8 inch disc. So that center hole there is where a pencil is going to go through, okay? Or a pen, or whatever you're going to use. Okay, and then this hole up here is simply for storage reasons. Okay, so we've actually made these discs before. They weren't nearly as cute as these. They weren't colored in like this. But anyway, this large hole right here is simply for hanging with a chain, and that's how we have you store them. So the center hole is important. So this is the 5/8 inch disc, okay, and the 5/8 inch disc is 5/8 inch radius. So all around the circle is 5/8 inch away from that little center dot. So I'm going to put this down and just show you that, let me move this a little bit. It can be a little tricky sometimes to film this. So this is my easy tee pattern. And so I have my side seam right here, and it's curved, all right? So if I want to add 5/8 inch seam allowance to it, I'm going to come in here, and I am going to drag, if you can see my seam line there. Here, let me try, and let me just zoom in a little more here, because I think that, there we go. That'll be kind of nice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my pencil into the center hole, and then I'm going to just drag my little, seam allowance disc along this line. And so what I'm doing here, this is very similar to what we say to you when you're sewing and keeping an even seam allowance. You watch your guide. And so what I'm keeping an eye on is my sewing line, okay, the line that I drafted. So I'm keeping my eye on the sewing line, and I'm watching the side of my seam allowance disc. It's all this, so this is good for curves. Of course, if you're going to add seam allowance to like a straight line, it's easier to do maybe with a ruler. And I'll come down here and do the hem. Move that. There we go. Okay, so look, I didn't do my side seam down all the way, but I'll continue it here. Just drag that out. And then I'll do my hem. And so my hem is this curved line. Oop, go up there. And then I'll come down here. And actually I think it's a little easier to do this when you're pulling the disc toward you. Okay, so now I've added my seam allowance. So this is the 5/8 inch disc, and there will be in our set a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and a 1/2 inch as well. So those are seam allowances that are commonly used in the sewing world, and you can use the smaller ones to add. If you have a pattern that has a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you want to add more, you can do that with the seam allowance discs. Okay, so got my camera wasn't refocusing on the disc as well, and my webcam doesn't like it, but yeah, these are I'm so excited. They're so cute. So if you self-draft, or if you don't like the seam allowance that a certain pattern came with, or if you're someone who likes to add a little seam allowance in order to do alterations or something, that's where these can come in. These are also, okay, these are, we did a podcast one time about sewing items that will last forever. Okay, so this is an item where as long as you don't lose it, it's not like you run out of it. It's pretty darn durable. They're rather thick. Okay, they're like a coin, like a piece of currency or something like that. So, you make an investment in this and you're going to have it around. I don't use this. This isn't something I use in my sewing room every single day. But then when I need one, I am so glad that I have one. Okay, Jennifer says, I want to put this on my Christmas list. Do you have to pre-order to get one? So what I'm doing is is doing this pre-order, but once they all come in and we have our stock, then the price will go up. So I'll try to be in really good communication with you all about when the sale pricing is up. I think that we have these for $30-ish or something, the set, and then on sale it's $26. So I won't pull the sale pricing out from under you, but I appreciate those of you who have faith in me and you've only seen one disc. But this, actually, we've used this supplier for some other things, so I have a lot of trust in them, a lot of faith, and I'm so glad that they sent me this sample disc, and so we will get the other ones and package them up. So the people who are ordering early are waiting longer. Sorry, everybody. I got interrupted. My internet just, went kaput. So what I was doing before I got cut off, and I'll go answer Jennifer's question in her comments here, but she was asking about the pricing of the or does she have to pre-order the seam allowance disc? You don't have to pre-order the seam allowance disc, but you get a special price because the people who are pre-ordering are waiting longer than those who are going to order when they're in stock. So anyway, that's just my way of showing some appreciation. So we say that these are going to ship in early January of 2020, but it's highly likely that they will ship earlier because these get manufactured pretty darn quickly. And anyway, I'm just waiting for the manufacturer to get back with me to tell me when they're shipping. So hopefully they will get here pretty quickly. Okay, so seam allowance discs. And then the last thing that I wanted to update you about today and maybe gauge a little interest on is, would anybody like to do a knit along with me next year? And I'm going to take a little poll. I'm going to, gauge some interest, but I am knitting, what I'm knitting right now. Here, let's see if I can put this on without, tearing my knitting off my knitting needles, because that would be so sad. There we go. What I'm knitting right now, isn't it so beautiful, is the So Faded sweater by Andrea Mowry. So it is, her brand is Drea Renee Knits, and she has this super duper cute sweater. And so I am going to gauge some interest on doing this knit along. And what it's going to be is a custom dyed set of yarns, especially for us. Maybe 2 colorways of fades. And then we will have a private knit along Facebook group, and I will guide and support you through making this sweater. And I started this sweater last week, and it is lighter weight yarn. It's fingering weight yarn, but it is going on at a bit of a clip. And I'll tell you what, this isn't my main gig, okay? Knitting is not my main gig, but this pattern is such that you can work on it if you're children that you are watching are playing well independently together, follows a really simple pattern. So I know it's not super impressive right now, but I'll post some pictures and see if there's interest. And like what you will pay for in the knit along is for our custom dyed yarn set. And then we'll all get together in a group. Hopefully we can have some like fun giveaways, but kind of a fun way to get into knitting your first sweater if that's maybe a goal of yours or something you've been wanting to do. It's a very simple pattern. I think it would be absolutely just fine for like beginner to intermediate or for confident beginner. It only requires like knit, purl, make one right, make one left. Basically you're just knitting along. But you get to change colors and use pretty yarn, and so you don't get too bored, okay? But that is the other thing that I wanted to update you about during this live broadcast is that I'm going to be sending out, taking a little poll in the group and seeing if any of you would like to knit a sweater with me. And once again, this is probably going to be something that we start like next year. Or we get our act together right at the end of the year and then we really start knitting on it, middle of January or something, but we can be all prepped and ready to go and have all our yarn wound and everything like that. Maybe get that done in December and then really go to town knitting in January, at the end of January, the middle of January 2021. Give everybody a chance to get all squared away, because as I've been knitting this, I've been noticing that something that really helps me is to stay organized, set some goals, to stay motivated, and sometimes when you're sewing or you're knitting, sometimes it's just nice to have someone there to be like, yes, it looks really weird, but that is the way it's supposed to look right now at this step in the process. So anyway, just keep a lookout for things, for something about that in the newsletter. I just met with an independent yarn dyer who said that they would create custom colorways for SewHere.com. So that's pretty exciting. And we can get together and we can knit, and it can be very casual and it'll be at a really nice pace, not a contest or anything like that. Okay, so I'm sorry I got interrupted in the middle of my live broadcast, but I feel like the internet has just been so taxed. Rachel says, yay, I made it. Rachel, I'm finishing up right now. I started the live broadcast in another live broadcast. Then I got interrupted with my internet, and I've already done my big demos and everything. So go back and watch those two, and I'll try to pop them together into a YouTube video so that you all can watch them all together. So sorry about that inconvenience, but yeah, I just wanted to do a big update. So someone says, I can't see your name, but they say, I really only knit when I'm procrastinating during finals weeks in school. In the spring, I managed to knit 3 sweaters. I'm interested. Oh, that's Christina. Okay. I totally get it. I'm like, the urge to knit is strongest when I have like something else to do, but I'm staying on top of things. ZD and I are still working on getting some things filmed for our catch-up live broadcasts, and I'm pretty sure I gotta go here and like put my kids to bed, but my kind of weird pandemic work schedule seems to be going okay. Tammy says socks. We need to knit socks. Jennifer says, every time I knit, I finish one sock or one mitten. I can't bring myself to do the pair. Well, I have knitted a pair of socks. I knitted both of them. Socks go pretty fast. Like, they're not a very large garment. Or, the socks I knitted weren't very large. So that was good. And it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I really needed, like, to take my mind off of, the world. You could also knit 2 at a time socks, which appeals to me. That does. I'm like, that's a good idea. So anyway, I'm not like turning into a knitting site or something like that, but I do think it would be fun to knit a sweater together. Maybe I should have chosen one with bulky yarn first next time. But yeah, sweaters are kind of intimidating. And I have to admit, when I first started knitting, I was like, listen, I just want to do small things, fun things, maybe like some fingerless gloves, some hats, or something like that. Oh, Jennifer says 2 at a time. What 2 at a time socks? Yes, that's something that you can do. I've never done it. I knitted mine separately this time around, but okay, well, maybe that's something to put on the list. But a sweater is very intimidating, right? It's like, oh my gosh, and is it going to fit? Things like that. So I thought that maybe if we did it together, we could all just get a little bit of encouragement. And like I said, this is going on at a good clip. And when I mentioned that I wanted to make the So Faded sweater in the group, someone was like, well, if you're gonna commit to making a sweater out of fingering weight yarn, is what they said, like, kind of, I can't remember exactly what their comment was, but the tone was sort of like, are you gonna do that? And you know what? That's a very valid point. I was like, yeah, that is gonna maybe take a while. So I get it. And I also realized that with a sweater, like with mittens or socks, it's like, with this one, it's seamless. So you kind of knit the top and the shoulders, and then you separate out the sleeves, and you knit the body. And then you gotta knit a whole sleeve, and you gotta knit a whole other sleeve. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so let's see. Jennifer says, I just don't think I can stick with a sweater. I like sewing because I can have quick wins. Yeah, I mean, there are definitely things that I don't want to knit. Like, people are like, I knitted a skirt. And I'm like, I would not knit a skirt. Personally, if you knit skirts, great for you. But some things, like this faded sweater, it's like I'm getting an effect that I can't really get by sewing. So I find that to be motivating. Okay, I'm kind of like making the fabric in a very real way, and I'm blending these colors together. So that's what appeals to me with this. It also does, I have, right now, so I'm caring for my children during the day. My husband is a school teacher, and so like during the times when they would be at school or daycare, they are not, and I'm caring for them. And I sometimes need to do a little something for myself during that time, and they watch a little TV or they're playing nicely in the yard, and I can knit, while watching them, and that's been pretty nice for me. Some days it doesn't happen. Some days I'm like cooking and cleaning all day while the kids are, doing stuff, and I mean, I am homeschooling one of them, I promise. But anyway, having this project has been nice for that. And like I said, the pattern's very easy to remember. You're increasing around these stitch markers, and stuff. So Kathy says, I love knitting tops and sweaters and socks. Okay, my first set of socks, like, they're really beautiful, and I love the yarn, and my friend dyed the yarns. I think it's beautiful, but I'm not, like, super happy with them. They're a little big. And so I'm a little sad, and maybe I need to, like, reflect on what I did during the process that, like, made them too big, or do I need to use different yarn? Should I have used smaller needles? What should I have done? So Jennifer says, I can appreciate that. Maybe when I don't have tiny ones running about, I will revisit knitting goals, but I'll enjoy watching you guys knit. Yeah, I do have, Jennifer, I can't remember exactly how old your children are. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, and I think they're particularly have become in this time kind of independent. Sometimes they're not. But there have been times that have come around where I'm like, you go do this, I have to knit 2 rows, and that can work. So, anyway. Oh, 2 and 5. Yeah, 2, little hard to let them go off by themselves, but the little one just turned 3 and it's better. Okay, well, I gotta get going because I gotta kiss some kids goodnight, but thanks for letting me give you an update. And part of the reason I'm doing this is because I didn't get a newsletter out this week, but you'll get a newsletter that's got all these updates in it very soon. So if the internet is cut out on you or me, you'll get it all in an email. All right, everybody, so long and so happy.